One of the definitions that we studied was that of Lionel Robbins, and this was known as the definition of scarcity, where Robbins highlighted the issue of limited resources and unlimited wants, and the problem of alternative uses, and therefore the need to make a choice. And that is the same choice making or decision making which is something that we have to understand in terms of an economy. What should the nation do? It has got unlimited wants to satisfy, it has to improve the welfare of the largest number of people on one hand, but then no economy can produce all that it wants. So how do economies make these choices? That is what we are going to study in this particular presentation. So as I've done earlier, I continue to use PowerPoint slides, and you may use these points on the slides. So let me go to the slides. This is one of those chapters in the earliest chapters in microeconomics, when we introduce students to using hypothetical examples, tables, and also start learning to use graphs. And you will find that microeconomics has got plenty of graphs, plenty of tables, and you have all these examples starting from this particular lesson. Now, the basic problem of every economy, which means we are studying the basic problems of individuals. We are talking about individual producers, we are talking about individual consumers, but the same story is to study about an economy as an individual entity, and then see how does an economy solve the same problem of resource allocation. And the country is also faced with the same problem of unlimited wants and limited resources. So we abstract these problems that are faced by an economy into three: what kind of goods to be produced and how much of these goods should be produced. The second major problem is how do we produce these goods? What methods do we use to produce these goods? And finally, for whom are these goods being produced? Now, as I told you, it is not possible for an economy to produce all the goods that it requires, and also in the quality of the goods that it requires. So the economy has to decide what goods are going to be produced and in what quantity are these goods going to be produced. And we learn an important lesson in life: you can't eat the cake and keep it too. So we have to make these choices, and if we want to produce more of one commodity, given resources are fully employed, then we can't produce more of one commodity without reducing the production of the other commodity. Now let me start with this hypothetical example. We say that, assume that all the nation's resources are now directed towards producing only two goods, that is the production of capital goods and the production of consumer goods. We take the capital goods as machines, and we take the consumer goods as wheat. Now let's see, if all the resources of the country is directed towards producing only wheat or only machines, how does the economy resources, how will the economic resources be employed? So we can see that if all the resources are used to produce a machine, we have a certain number that we can produce, and if all the resources are used to produce only wheat, then there is a maximum number or quantity of wheat that can be produced. Now these are two extreme possibilities. No nation will ever use all its resources to produce only one good and none of the other. So that is a hypothetical example, and we use these hypothetical examples because they make our analysis of that particular economic phenomena easier, and we will be able to understand the many sides of the same problem. Now, the same argument that I just had with I just presented to you, I will now present it in the form of a table. Now, this is how economics uses numbers and later maths. What do we do here? I told you two extreme possibilities. Now we have to imagine those two extreme possibilities, and we start giving numbers to those two extreme possibilities. We put them down in a table, and then you will understand that this understanding the table is much easier than just imagining what the economy must be doing. Let's take this example here. Production possibilities. I have named them as A, B, C, D, E, and F. And the second column is machines in thousands, which means in combination A, there are no machines being produced. And the third column is wheat in lakh tons. And the final column, the fourth column, is unit of wheats that will be given up to produce additional units of machine. So I told you that we cannot produce more of something without giving up units of the other. Now, take unit combination A. We find A has no units of machine but 15 units of wheat. So the economy produces no machines at all. Now, this is a hypothetical example. I told you these are extreme possibilities. Take B, where we produce only 1 unit of machine. But how did we produce 1 unit of that machine? We produce that 1 unit of machine by giving up 1 unit of wheat. So we have given up the 1 unit of wheat we gave up, and then we got 1 unit of machine. Go down the table, you will find a combination C, where now we are producing 2 units of machines and only 12 units of wheat. So we have given up 2 units of wheat to produce an additional unit of machine. The fourth combination D has got 3 units of machines and only 9 units of wheat, in which case we have given up 3 units of wheat to produce 1 extra unit, and the D and 4. Now take the condition F. F is a situation where the reallocation of resources, taking from one and giving it to the other, has happened in such a way that we get only machines produced in the economy and no wheat at all. So if we take combinations A and F, we find that these are two extreme possibilities of only one kind of goods being produced. Now the same, I hope you have understood this table, and now we will see how a table, an abstract idea, put it into a table form, and now that table can be explained in terms of a graph. You see now what we have done. This is how we use graphs in economics. Not necessarily we use graph sheets, but we call them as diagram. They are representative of an idea. In a graph, we use graph sheets, but when we use diagrams, we are just an idea that gets represented with a table, with a graph, with a curve, and with straight lines and so on. That is what we call it as a diagram here. Now, if you see the diagram, you will find that point A is on the topmost part of the diagram and point F is in the lowest part of the diagram. A and F are touching the axis, which means 0 unit of the other product is being produced. Whereas combinations B, C, D and E are on the production. We connect the point, we will find a smooth curve which we call as a transformation curve or a production possibility curve, and you will find that B, C, D and E are located on the production possibility curve. It will easily show you that we have a combination of wheat and a combination of machines that are being produced all along. So this is called the production possibility curve, or also known as the transformation curve. Now let me, if you look into this graph a little closely, you will find 2 points, S and R. What do you think these points S and R mean to you? Can you draw some idea from these 2 points of S and R? Well, let's see what it is like. So S is a point inside the production possibility curve and R is a point outside of the production possibility curve. So R indicates that with the current situation, with the current available resources, it is not possible to produce goods at point R. It is beyond the reach of the economy to produce goods at R. R means more of good A and more of good wheat and more of machines. Now, current situation, the economy is fully employed. The technology remains the same. These are the two assumptions. And with these things, it is not possible to reach point R. Now take the point S. It's also called the unattainable position. Take the point S. Now in the point S condition is that the economy is well within, producing well within inside the production possibility curve. What would that mean? That means the economy is producing less of wheat and less of machine, when actually it could have produced much more than that. They could have operated on the production possibility curve, but they are operating inside the production possibility curve. So that means the economy is underutilizing its resources, or there is wastage of resources. So by simply converting an idea into a table and the table into a graph, you saw how an economic phenomena could be made intelligible to you, and it is no longer something that you need to by heart it, because there is a good logic that has happened along this process of learning. Now the next question is how to produce. Now we know that goods can be produced by using machines, and goods also can be produced by using more labor. So the question is, if I give an example, cloth can be produced using power loom, or cloth can be produced using hand loom. Streets can be cleaned by the workers who can clean the street with the broomsticks that they have, or streets can also be cleaned by using vacuum cleaners, which are used under the vehicles that run to clean the roads. Now, which one should we do? Should we have people employed to clean the roads, or we should have workers employed to weave clothes, or should we have machines to clean the road, or should we have machines to make cloth? Now these are two big options that a nation has. Now these two methods are one is called the labor intensive method, where we use more units of labor, and the other one is called capital intensive method, where we use more machines or capital goods. So this choice of methods depends upon the availability of resources. If we have more laborers, then ideally we could have more production being carried out using labor. But if we have less labor and it is possible for us to have more capital, then in that case we could use more of capital dependent production. So these are the two methods of production, labor intensive and capital intensive, and you will take this idea later when you do study subjects like development economics. You will be understanding this subject better. The next question is, for whom should these goods be produced? Now it depends upon the distribution of the national income of the country. If the number of poor people are too many in the country, then we will find that possibly more goods of that nature will be produced. And probably also if people have got more money, few people have got, inequality is very high and few people have got a large share of the national income, then also it is possible that goods of that nature can get produced. It would mean simply like this: whether we need to produce more notebooks and cycles in the country, or whether we need to make more computers or high-end computers, or we want to make high-end cars, because there are people who can afford to pay for very high-end computers and very high-end cars. So this depends upon the distribution of income, the inequality of income that is happening inside the country. And this also depends upon how the four factors of production get their rewards. So based on the incomes that go to different, we just said in macroeconomics a factorial distribution of income. Here also we will see how the income gets distributed into the four factors of production, and accordingly we can see what kind of goods are going to be more in demand. It also depends upon the type of economy. Now the type of economy will be the next topic that I will present to you, where we will study how in different kinds of economies how distribution of resources take place. Now the question is, does it mean that the economy will always remain as it is, or are we to use we have to use Paul Samuelson's definition here? So we used Lionel Robbins' definition so far to explain the production possibility curve, and now I'm going to bring you back I'm going to bring Paul Samuelson's definition back here to explain how an economy grows. Now that idea that economies grow over time can be also explained using a graph. Now look at the graph. You will find that the middle graph, the AB curve, is the one that you just got introduced to when I talked to you about the production possibility curve or the transformation curve. Now what I have done is there is an additional production possibility curve on the right, which is B1, and another production possibility curve which is inside, which is given as B2. Now, what do these two curves mean? What might be A1, B1? What might be A2, B2? I'm sure you got the answer now. If you have followed the lecture correctly and if you got the ideas right, you can very easily understand that A1 and B1 indicates that the economy has grown over time and the economy is now able to produce more of good A and more of good B. And the other one is A2, B2, which means the economy has contracted and it is producing less of good A and less of good B, and the economy is probably not functioning as it should have been functioning, or there is production inside the curve. Now this movement of the curve, production possibility curve towards the right or outside indicates the economy is growing over time. Now I come to the last segment of my presentation, points to ponder. Can you identify the alternatives that pose challenges to you in your real life? Now, why do I give this kind of questions to you? It is only because when you can see that the real life is a reason for us to understand economics as well. So economics is not an abstract science. Economics is a subject of reality. It absorbs reality and converts using into different methods that we have just come across. Can you think of this question? When the environmental resources are utilized more, what will happen to the production possibility curve? Right? Will it contract inside or will it go outside? Can you also state the idea of opportunity cost using this? Opportunity cost is the next best alternative foregone. So in the table, you saw that if you want to produce 1 unit of something, you have to give up something. Does this opportunity cost idea work in real life? Do you get all what you want with the given resources, or do you give up something to get something else? That is the truth of life, and that is the truth of economics. So thank you very much, students. I hope you will enjoy this. You enjoyed this presentation. You will like it. You will share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. So the next session will be on basic. No, we have finished basic problems. So we shall now look into types of economies. Right? Thank you.